Okay, all the meeting's order. No quirky questions tonight. So we're all here. Just to the agenda.
There were a couple of additions to the agenda after it was published. Pretty minor details, but things came in after the agenda, like the fee schedule and some donations, and others were dismissed, so.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
A second.
Whoops, I didn't hear.
Bruce, and then
Bruce, okay. I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Okay, we have public comment tonight, and we don't often have it. We would love to have public comment. But since we haven't had it for a while, I'm gonna go through some of the details of the policies and procedures. First of all, whoever's speaking will sit up at the front, and all remarks will be addressed to the board as a whole. We have a 5-minute time limit established for each participant. And what we're asking is that in the event of multiple people wish to address the board at the same topic, on the same topic, the board will ask the group to identify one person that will speak on behalf of all participants with a maximum of 20 minutes. This is for the board. The board will not respond to the information received in the public comment. We're here to listen. And the superintendent will follow up with all participants of public comment. So I know Christy had called in, so we'll let her go first.
I got a question.
Yes.
So I can't ask a question?
Ask,
You're saying?
well,
Typically, we would follow up after,
Okay,
any questions and follow up.
or I can't add nothing, okay.
Am I in the right spot?
Yep.
Good.
Good camera side. Hi, my name is Christy Strong. My husband, John, and I have 3 girls in the school district. We have an 8th grader, a 6th grader, and a 3rd grader. Wanted to thank you for this opportunity to share my concern for the lack of core classes and declining reading and math skills of our 8th grade students. The current 8th grade class was impacted by COVID in 4th grade, when reading fluency and vocabulary were a key focus of their curriculum. When they entered the middle school as 6th graders, they entered a COVID-adjusted block schedule, which means that the designated A and B day block schedule, which rotated 8 classes throughout a quarter, got reduced to A days only, with only 4 classes per quarter. This resulted in the loss of our core classes being offered consistently. Math, English, and band became every other quarter. This modified A-day only block schedule has remained for this class of students who are now in the 8th grade. My daughter is in this 8th grade class and currently has 4 classes this quarter. She has advanced algebra, science, and 2 electives. She has no English and no band. Next quarter, she will have band and English, but no math. My concern for these 8th graders grew when I was teaching their religion class. Their poor reading and spelling skills and regular prayer to make it through math caught my attention. Even the students that did well in school couldn't even come close to spelling the word church. I reached out to Ms. Bullard and have met several times with Mr. Orline. Mr. Orline agrees that the lack of core classes is a problem. He shared some of our 8th grade fall testing results, and the grade scored 42%, not meeting benchmark in reading. This performance has decreased from the past 3 years, 29% in 6th grade, 34% in 7th grade, and now 42% in 8th grade. My daughter does well in school, and my husband and I are engineers and both help with homework. Our daughter scored at the top of her class in math, but scored 39% in reading. She doesn't enjoy reading, and she would benefit from routine practice in reading fluency, comprehension, grammar, and spelling in an environment where it's required of her. Mr. Orline has committed to bringing core classes back for 8th to 10th grade next year. The 6th and 7th are following a hybrid block schedule this year that includes consistent core classes throughout the year. I'm glad to hear next year will be better, but we need to do more for this 8th grade now. Mr. Orline and parents have shared various ideas, including using the 30-minute daily Bulldog time that is currently free time, and 30-minute weekly advisory time for additional teaching, possibly from Mr. Spanier or Mrs. Anderson. offering AR reading program, book clubs, a readathon. We all know time can pass quickly, so I'd like the school administration to create a plan to implement supplemental reading and math education for our 8th graders by the end of October. Myself and several parents are also willing to support. My ask of the school board is to hold the school accountable for fulfilling the promise to offer core classes in 6th to 10th grade next year and deliver on programs to help the 8th grade this year. I reached out to several parents to understand if they were seeing issues with their kids' math and reading performance. Every parent I spoke with shared my concern and offered to help however they can to help bring core classes back. You see several of them here today. I also have a list that I can share with you of another 12 families. Thank you for your time and for holding the school accountable for improving our declining reading and math skills of our students. Increasing our current 42% reading level of 8th grade from not meeting benchmark is required to achieve our Paynesville area schools mission statement to prepare students with academic, social, and personal skills to be career, college, and community ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me take that. Do you want?
Yeah.
Yep. The list.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, do
Yep.
you want my?
Oh, no, I don't need your notes.
Yeah. I also have some of the data. I don't
Yeah.
know if anyone.
They're gonna get that next. Yep, okay, they'll get that. Thank you. It's your call.
Cassie?
Yeah, my perspective is just a little bit different, so if you don't mind, I'll
No,
I'll try and be very quick.
As long as you're not repeating what's already been said.
No. All right, my name is Cassie Zierden. Thank you again also for letting me speak. I actually have 2 8th graders, and I have very similar concerns. I'm not gonna go into what Christy did, but I'll just read it. For my daughter, school comes really easy. However, I find her more stressed and hard on herself because she can't remember what she learned 6 months ago. She loves reading, and this schedule limits her time reading and trying to stay focused on her current classes. This will also be something she will be hard on herself now come second quarter when she hasn't done the reading she set for herself before English starts. She does put these expectations on herself, but I cannot imagine how she could be excelling even more with the consistency in those classes, with less stress or trying to play catch up from each quarter. For my son, school is really hard. He has an IEP, and I could not be more appreciative of the teachers and paras that work with him. I do my best to stay on top of this at home also. He gets along with his teacher and has drive to get his work done finally. In the past, he would avoid and not tell us about homework, especially when it was hard and he didn't understand the work. This year, when I talked to his IEP teacher, she had to decide between his IEP as academic strategies class, which is specific for his IEP, versus electives that were also required. So this quarter, he is technically not getting what he needs. My son, his teacher, and myself put a plan for him to work with her during Bulldog time or the end of his math class. He's able to go to her room for help. What I have been hearing from my son is that he does not always get the option to go at the end of class or chooses not to leave math because he doesn't want to nor feels he needs to. I am really trying to trust him, but every year he says he is doing fine. And by October 1st, I find out he is doing so poor, he plays catch up for the rest of the quarter. I am very concerned as a parent of a child with an IEP that the system is really going to fail him. I was very disappointed to hear that he wouldn't even be given a chance to have consistent classes and be able to work with his IEP teacher at least every other day. Your staff that works with these struggling students, I ask how they are juggling to have students every other day and then now adding a whole nother grade for only a quarter here and there. And also, I can only imagine how students are doing that are between my 2 scenarios of the extreme of good and extreme of bad, how they are doing and struggling. These include the students who do okay, that just get by, may need help, the ones still scared to ask for help, or the ones struggling that do not have IEP resources like we do, nor do not qualify for them. I'm very concerned about who is watching for them and ensuring that they are not falling through the cracks. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, do you have a different slant?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Hello, I'm Kim Gobranson. I'm a retired teacher. This is my third year, going into my third year of being retired. So I think parents still feel comfortable if they see me at the grocery store or a garage sale or a high school graduation, kind of telling me their concerns. And so that's why I am here tonight. I'm hoping that maybe sharing a little background might help with the topic that you've been hearing about scheduling. Just to provide a little history, the new middle school started in 1992. Before that, we were a K-8 school located at the current middle school site. Before we transitioned to the actual middle school concept, teachers, administration, school board worked for almost 2 years figuring out what kind of a middle school were we going to have. Was it going to be 5th through 8th grade, 6th through 8th grade, or just 7th through 8th grade? We thought about and looked at other schools. What would a middle school schedule look like? What would the components be for our curriculum when we were going to put 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, a mix of kids together for a homeroom for a half hour a day and have that be a learning time too? What would that look like? Ultimately, what I think we decided worked well. I mean, we thought about our community needs, the staff that we had, what we saw at other schools, plural. You'll know why the plural is important a little bit later, but it worked well. At that time, 6th grade had their own hallway and a 15-minute recess in the morning and their own schedule to accommodate both reading and communications every day. Something that 7th and 8th grade did not have. Ultimately, we had to transition from 4 sections of students, and that kind of went across the grades, to just 3 sections. We went from having 100 students in a class where we could have 4 sections of each grade to kind of what we have now, 3 in most. And because of that, things had to change. Not all changes were bad. But eventually, instead of having a separate roster of these are high school teachers, these are middle school teachers, we had one group of teachers that were 612 teachers and one principal. And that meant that whatever was going on in one, what used to be building, middle school, high school, kind of had to be across the board because we had so much shared staff. The middle school was not able to do something if it didn't also work into the high school schedule and vice versa. And there's a few people in here today who remember those first years of the middle school and reveille and prime time. But each time a change was made, it was the original middle school that lost out. That brings us to the fall of 2018. We were told we would be changing to a block schedule. It did seem to be one person's agenda. Some people did visit Alexandria High School that operates on a block schedule. Alexandria Middle School does not have a block schedule, nor do they plan to. Try to find a middle school with a block schedule. I would encourage you to look at a middle school schedule from Ricori, Melrose, Annandale, pick a school, and then compare it to our middle school schedule. A decision of this magnitude that makes this much of an impact on student learning needs to be backed by data. So that's what we always heard as teachers too. Where's the data? If you want to have this program or do that, where's the data? So I'm asking, where is the data for block schedules in middle schools? This is my opinion, but I was involved in both this back in 1992, and then as much as we could have been involved in 2018, it was made without careful planning.
1 minute left.
Okay. The foundations of math, reading, social studies, and science are still being built in the middle school years. Consistency is integral. rigor at a pace and time frame appropriate for the middle school brain is crucial. We don't want a builder to take shortcuts when he's, building the foundation of our house or the framework of a plane we're going to fly in. I retired after 42 years of being a teacher, but I didn't retire from caring about students. Right now, our 6th through 8th graders, they're 11 to 14. They need us to stand up for them, and I know we can do better. Thank you.
Actually, the superintendent will follow up with all the participants. Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Janelle?
Taking a look at the consent agenda, Cheryl, would you like to address bills?
I was able to go look at the bills today. I had several questions on groups that I wasn't familiar with, and Janelle was able to fill me in on those, and those questions, business is normal.
The one item that we asked about is the software that runs all the display screens across the district.
I guess or do I ask my question at the end? I guess it's regarding funds. And I don't expect to get an answer today or nothing, but I was curious, when we had COVID and we had gotten school had gotten COVID money, this was before my time, where were those funds allocated? I mean, where did they go? Were they prorated in different areas? I guess I had a number of different individuals come up to me. I guess I don't.
You mean funds used for the school?
For the school, yeah.
For like the ESSER allocation?
Yeah.
I mean,
Or is that something impossible to?
no, it's not impossible. It's.
Or is that public, or is that, how should I say, not public record or?
Oh, all of it is public
Definitely,
record.
definitely.
Okay.
No, it's all public record, but I will prepare that report for you, and I can walk through where all of the ESSER money went and how it's been a big portion of the last allocation that we received, covered the indoor air quality of like $780,000 of the indoor air quality project.
That's what I thought.
Yep, there was a large portion of funding that our technology systems, when we had to move to virtual online classrooms, a lot of those, so I can get that for you.
I just thought that would kind of help clear the air, because I feel people are maybe taking things out of context when we're in a situation where we're in negotiations.
Oh, sure.
And as far as
Okay.
where that money went.
Okay. Yeah, I can run, and that's something that Carrie and I can certainly do, and I'll just we can pull it by the codes and.
Yeah, and have it
take
next
a look
month
at
or
that.
whatever. Yeah,
Yep.
I
Yep.
said I would just ask that, so
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. The rest of the consent agenda, overloads are pretty typical at this time of year. It really is. Again, we've done a really nice job limiting those, but we do have to have some staff that pick up an extra shift to cover, or an extra, they teach on their prep to cover all the elective opportunities. You also see our early childhood family education teachers identified. You'll notice that Lisa Stain came back and provided some ECFE programming for us. If you remember, she was one of our preschool teachers that left last year, but she has come back. So that's kind of a nice opportunity to bring her back. And then a lot of the remainder are just the late hires in August that came on board before the August or after the August board meeting. You will also notice our extracurricular contracts are on there. Those are a little bit later. We just finalized our school patrol information as well, but those are the personnel items. Donations that were received today, or from the point the board agenda came out to today, we received a $250 donation from Paynesville Giving, the Community Foundation, and the Masonic Lodge for a third grade field trip. So we appreciate the $250 to help cover the transportation for that. So acknowledging those donations as well.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
You can take him.
Take Gerald and Ron, okay. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay, it is passed. We move on to communication items, beginning with superintendent's report.
So I have a few items to talk through today. First, I just want to let the board know that, so on Friday, so week and a half ago, I received a call from the Minnesota Department of Ed saying, we're going to come out and do a compensatory revenue audit. So we have very little notice to kind of make sure our ducks are in a row. And that took place last Friday. And I just need to give kudos to Amanda Wirtz. She did a fabulous job. Our district is in a really good position. They were impressed by her organization. They were impressed by our thoroughness and completeness to make sure that our designations are made appropriately, correctly, and we are maximizing our funding where possible. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Amanda because she did that with a lot of great work, and she had less than a week's notice, and it was all right there and ready. So kudos to her. I did keep number 2 in there. So while school lunches are free, it is still important to complete those free and reduced forms. That is what is used for the compensatory revenue determination. And there is no issue if a form is filled out and there's no eligibility, nothing is hurt. So we always just encourage families to fill out the free and reduced form. With the calendar change for this year, we have 2-hour late starts for professional development. Just a reminder, October 3rd is our first scheduled 2-hour late start. So we're excited about that opportunity. There's some great professional development planned for the certified staff. Starting to take a look at, they're looking at data, if a good fill in from our earlier presentations, taking a look at our student data. We had our benchmarking for all students kindergarten up through 10th grade. That information will be shared out with the board in October as well. But they're starting that work on Tuesday, October 3rd. So that's exciting. Our paraprofessionals are also going to be in for an opportunity for professional development. There are some legislative changes that have given us an opportunity to provide some very specific training for them as well. So they'll be in also. So we're looking forward to that change. As a follow-up to our work session in September, I have been in contact with school perceptions. They would be willing to do a survey for us again. The board has used school perceptions the last 2 times, so I just took it upon myself to reach out to them. If the board would like me to do something different, I'm certainly able to do so, but I do have them preparing information for you, and I'll share that out at one of our next meetings. And then lastly, I just wanted to call out that the Paynesville Area Community Foundation Gala is coming up this weekend. Our district is being highlighted as celebrated as one of the community organizations who has been a recipient of Gala funds. In 2017, the Career and Technical Education Programming was a focus of the Gala, and we've been able to have sustained ongoing funding where our teachers can apply for a grant and have consistent revenue coming in to really continue the opportunities for our career and technical education. Some of the things that I'll be able to highlight are the projects and the equipment and the tools and some of the fun stuff that our students have been able to do. So I just wanted to make sure that the community was aware that we have been a recipient and an ongoing recipient of those funds. And it's been a great partnership, and we're certainly grateful for that opportunity. That's the administrative report. Financially, I did link in again the expenditures. You will notice that sorry, I'm going to click on the August 31st tab. I did put onto the July 31st tab all the definitions. So if you want to hover over, you'll again see what is allocated in each of those expenditure areas. So obviously, as you're going to see, we're early in the year. Our expenditure amounts are very low when you look at our percentages. And you'll see kind of our current year to date versus the prior year to date. So again, this is here as a reference for you, and it will be every month, so we can kind of continue. And if there are oddities or there are things that seem unique, Carrie and I certainly will call those out to you. But otherwise, if there are any specific questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know. But I do have both the revenues and the expenditures that are updated with the descriptions, and then our current year to date. So right now I'm clicked on the revenue. Okay. And that's the administrative report that I have for you today. If there's any questions.
We should be past another quarter as far as that unemployment. I was curious what that second quarter unemployment costs the school.
The bill has not formally been received, but our initial statement was 50,000. So it's going to be about 50,000 for the
second
July
quarter.
and August. Yeah. But that formal statement comes, we get a preliminary statement.
Yep.
And the formal bill
I'm
comes
not
out.
gonna hold it to the dollar amount, but I was just curious how much it was, so.
Yep.
Any other questions? No, otherwise we'll move on to committee and organizational reports.
Committees, staff development. We had a staff development prior to,
I don't know if you want to highlight that.
sure, I can. So the professional development committee has been really taking a look at now our 2-hour late starts, how that's going to be different and how we're really going to make sure that not only is there the professional development, and as I mentioned, we're going to start looking at the data of our student data, and then the next kind of focus is how that aligns to, with our curriculum and standards. And then continuing, this is the final year of the letters work. So that'll be also part of those 2-hour late starts. So that was the staff development committee. I do know that our continuing education committee met. Rachel and I were not able to be there. I did get a summary from Leah Pfeiffer, who is the chair of that committee. One of the things that's different, so that the continuing education committee really reviews all of the licensure requirements and helps to make sure that our teachers are on board, checking all the boxes to make sure that their license renewal in the 5-year cycle is up to par. She sent me some information about some new requirements that she had really done a nice job kind of encapsulating. So I think over the course of the year, we'll find out more out about that. Negotiations, we had a negotiations meeting yesterday with paraprofessionals. And that is our fourth meeting. Our 5th meeting is scheduled, so not a lot to report there, but others are, I think, will pick up in the near future. Any other organizational, I think, committee? Those are primarily it.
Okay, then we'll move on to our students. You get to give us a report.
So NHS is planning on volunteering at the community center in elementary school. Nothing is sure on that quite yet. They're currently volunteering at sports events during concessions and stuff like that. They would also like to start and adopt a highway and once a year cleaning up a stretch of the ditch. And then they're planning for a blood drive as well. They're not sure when quite yet, but they want to do one this school year. And then their normal bake sales that they do for Halloween and holidays and all that. And then student council, we are planning for homecoming. Very busy. Pet Fest is October 13th. And the dance is October 7th, I think 7 to 10, I believe. And then coronation is on the 8th. And then homecoming week is October 9th to the 13th. And then currently we're selling pre-sale tickets for people to buy tickets for the dance.
And then for SAD, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions, we're currently working on electing our reps. So it's a student-run organization, obviously, and we're working on making more rep positions so more students have the opportunity to be that. We're also doing our cinnamon roll fundraisers again, which is our biggest money maker. And then we're gonna be planning on volunteering at the elementary school once a month like we did last year, and that really helped out our elementary school teachers. And then we just recapped last year's events at our meeting and talked about how that went with the mock car crash and everything. And then for the yearbook committee, we are planning on our yearbook themes. We already found out what our theme is gonna be. And then we're just putting up posters around the school to make sure that students are buying yearbooks. Last year, the sales were great, so.
Awesome.
I'm just curious. You're here to represent the students. That's great. Do you represent us in any way to the students? Or is there any way you could, or like when you go to school, council, do you ever talk about what this is like so they have an idea what?
Well, people
we're-
will ask,
And
and
then-
then we tell them.
Like in student council, Mrs. Whaler wants us to start telling what happens at the
Like-
meetings,
like-
before the meetings, so.
Like notes and
Yeah, I'm actually
everything,
taking
so.
notes right now, so
Okay.
you'll hear about that.
And I definitely, when people find out that I'm on the board, they definitely ask questions, what it's like and everything, so.
Well, good.
Awesome.
It's a two-way street then. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're on to old business. Policies, second reading.
There were no comments or questions that came through for the policy reading, so policy committee, I'll leave it up to you for a recommendation.
Well, we've been through it, so you've all had a chance. So our recommendation is that they be passed as presented.
I make a motion that we accept the policies, changes that have been put together by the policy committee.
I'll second it.
Rachel seconds that. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? They are adopted. New business.
So this time of year is where we have to do our preliminary levy setting. This is not formally revised until December, but this is the time of year where we have to certify. And the recommendation is always to certify to the maximum. And then if we need to revise that in December, we certainly can. You will see that there is a 3.4% increase over the previous year. And the dollar amounts that are listed there are straight from our levy report that is generated through the Department of Education. So any questions about that levy certification for the preliminary levy certification?
I'll make that motion to certify the maximum amount allowable for the paid 2024 levy.
Not a second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Truth in taxation.
So this is where the rest of the taxation, I guess, communication takes place. We do have to hold a meeting after 6 p.m. Our December board meeting has historically been we've had one because of a holiday schedule. And we've traditionally held that during the school day so we can have student representatives presenting to the board. So the question becomes, would the board like to do one of two things? You could either move the December board meeting to be a 6 p.m. meeting, or as has been done in the previous 3 years since I've been here, would you like to hold a second Truth in Taxation special meeting at 6 o'clock on December 12th? It is either way, they both work. It's up to the board and how you would like to see that Truth in Taxation meeting held.
When we meet at 6 o'clock, that's usually a very short meeting.
It's usually a short meeting. Steve Pumper will do the presentation for us. He's been here both in person and he's been here virtually. In my 3 years, we've not had anyone at that meeting, but it is an opportunity to have taxpayers here.
So you're saying would it be just simpler instead of having a short meeting? I guess I'm all for getting the students involved, just to have it one during the day.
We have to have it at 6 o'clock.
Oh, you
It has
have to
be
have
after
it. Have
6
this
o'clock.
The truth in taxation
So-
has to be.
My question would be, is there a reason that we don't move our meeting with the students up to this second meeting in November? And then just have our single meeting in December at 6 o'clock? I don't know if it has any.
So what do you say?
So we just have one meeting, we have our 2 meetings in November as usual with the second meeting would be the one
During the day.
during the day with the students. And then our December meeting would still be a single meeting in that month, but it'd just be a 6 PM meeting. And I have no problems coming back at 6. We've done it, like I said, the last 3 years, and it's it's a 5-minute meeting maybe, and we're back out the door again, but also driving back into town
Yeah, I mean, it's
for those that have to come back.
for the drivers.
Some of you are.
There's a couple that didn't. I would do it. For those that- I mean, I'm game either way, but I just throwing it out there. If we're gonna move a meeting, do we want to move November? And does that work for, administration to get up that lined up for the November meeting versus December? So,
It's up to you. I can go either way. I don't know. I don't mind coming back for 5-minute meeting.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, it ends up being closer to about 20, but. But
I'll
it's,
make a motion, we do that. I don't have a problem. If that keeps it simple, yeah.
as far as doing the early meeting in November and then
Yeah.
the single meeting in December.
okay,
So what would be the meeting in November?
so the November meeting would be our traditional, let me get the date on that.
Wait a minute. I have it on here somewhere. 20. Yep, it's 28.
So November 20, sorry, that's October, November 28th or 14th, nope, so we must have an early,
14th is the work session.
that's the work session?
Yep, and then the
Sorry about
28.
that, my bad, I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter. That will work session or
It does need to be
a meeting. when we have the kids come.
for the students to come?
Yeah.
No, the students could come at a work session,
That'd be
that would be fine.
And that would,
I would say do the work session.
That would be, I would think that would be a good time to have them at the work session.
Okay, so, all right, so Miranda's gonna take notes. All right, so I'm hearing that the November work session will move to 1:30 so that students can be present and have a presentation. And then December's board meeting, because it has been published as 1:30 in the afternoon, so we'll have to move that to 6 PM.
Okay, what date is that again, though?
November 14th at 1:30.
Doing one at a time. Let's just do them one at a time.
Okay, so November 14th work session
Okay,
moves to 1:30.
Okay.
And then December 12th moves to 6 PM. And the board just knows that there's no students at that. And that will include truth and taxation.
Okay.
Okay,
perfect.
okay, would somebody like to make a motion? And the stuff is written up there so that you can see what we just kind of talked through.
I make a motion.
Go ahead and read that.
I make a motion to introduce a motion to schedule the truth and taxation public hearing for taxes payable in 2024, 2023 at 6 PM on December 12th at Paynesville Secondary School Room 105.
Perfect.
Is there a second?
I second.
Gerald seconds. All
Yeah.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay. Taxation has been set.
All right, thank you. Letter C are lane changes. This is the time of year where we have lane changes twice a year. You'll see the identified changes. And we're just looking for a motion and a second to approve the lane changes as presented.
This is contractual, correct?
This is
Yep,
correct.
so contractual.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Gerald, Bruce second, okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Fee schedule, so, I started looking at, in our fee schedule, one of the things that we've struggled with is our substitutes, and substitute teachers. And, in reviewing many of our neighboring surrounding communities, I did find that there are kind of schedules or tiers as people spend more time within a district. And when we're competing with neighboring districts to have people come in and sub, I am making a recommendation that that we revise our fee schedule for our certified staff. Once our contracts are settled, I do expect I will likely come back and ask the board to revise some sub rates for paraprofessionals and custodians and such. But at this point in time, what I'm looking at is the revising the substitute teacher schedule. And I'll just kind of spell it out. I did thank you, board members, for pointing out. I clarified on days 16 to 29, the rate of pay would increase by $25 per day. And anything at 30 days and over would be at a rate of $200 per day. You'll remember a couple of years ago, and maybe it was just last year, we revised our retired teacher compensation to $200 a day, hoping to have a little bit more retired teacher work. We haven't seen as much of that as we thought we would. So we're hoping this can again continue to incentivize some of our subs to continue giving us that time. So my recommendation is to revise the sub teacher rate as reflected on this schedule.
And I make a motion that we revise the sub teacher rate based on the schedule.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Membership contracts, you'll see, I have talked about this in the past and it is now finally here. And I'll be honest, it got buried in my email and I found it. This is our C membership. Thomas and I actually, Thomas, we could have talked about our C meeting. That was last Friday as well. But C is the organization that has really worked hard to advocate for really tax equalization and making sure that schools that are property poor and there's not the disparity between property rich and property poor school districts in relation to a tax, a levy. So that has been a big focus of theirs, and it would be a benefit to us as a school district to have increased equalization, which would just mean that our taxpayers carry less of the burden from a funding when you have a tax base that has more than just residential to spread that tax across. So the membership is identified here and letter E.
Okay, is there a motion to?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Thomas seconds. Any
Discussion,
discussion?
reintroduced a motion to approve the membership with Schools of Equity in Education for the 2023 and 24 school year.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, upcoming meetings.
So we have our work session and our regular school board meeting. We just added a negotiation session yesterday. Miranda, can we add that on there as well? And that was for October 16. Thank you.
Paras?
Yep.
There's
Yes.
right.
Yep.
Okay. No other business.
Are the teachers getting ready to negotiate?
I think so. They needed to restructure their group a little bit. Many of you will remember that Dave Wilkie was the negotiator. And so I've just been waiting to hear from them. I know they're doing some work on the backside, so
Still working on it?
I expect it will resume shortly.
Okay.
Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Well, no, hold on. Okay, Ron. I guess I have a question. Can we talk about what was said here, or does that go into a closed session or what?
This topic will be put on the work session in October, and there will be some additional data presented, and we'll have a more open conversation at our work session in October.
Okay, well, I guess I have a question. I don't expect you to answer now, but two questions that I have. A couple months ago, I spoke of the displeasure as far as on this block scheduling. And I like the idea of tweaking and making some changes, but for us to wait until 2024 school year, 24, 25, is there something in law that we can't change something for like third and fourth quarter? Do we have to wait until next year, I guess? I guess, because that, to be honest with you, that's kind of a big concern as far as this block scheduling and how it's working.
So that's a question that we'll pose to our building administration that works through developing the schedule, has the staff to support both middle school and high school. So that's a question that we're gonna pose to our building administration, because that really is their charge.
Okay, and then I guess other question I had, and that was regarded to, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I never heard the term until I had looked at my own kids' schedule. It was a Bulldog, what was it called again? Is it Bulldog Minutes or Bulldog? Oh, Bulldog Time, I'm sorry. It's called Bulldog Time, but, you know, I look at the block schedule and, I mean, he's in 7th grade. Technically with this second chance breakfast, he really don't have to be at school till 10:15. I mean, I'm just wondering what,
No, he's got a schedule, a block, that's the first block.
but there's a half hour in between block 1 and block 2.
Yep, and that was, yes. I can have David explain the full schedule, but I'll take this just kind of as so last year we had connect time at the end of the school day. They had block 1, 2, 3, 4, and then connect time. What was restructured through feedback with staff and in communication with, so it was administration and staff looked at how to re-engage students differently instead of having it at the end of the school day. So they took connect time and put it in the middle, called it Bulldog time, and there's gonna opportunities for extended learning, there's enrichment, there's tutoring, and it's paired with second chance breakfast. So it's a half hour of open time that is no longer at the end of the day.
No.
It's in the middle of the day.
But, and when you say open time, they can kind of freelance, they can go for breakfast. They can
And
go
they
to
can-
the pack. I
And
mean,
they
it just
can
seems,
sign up for, there are different opportunities that are offered
Mhm.
through that time. Some of them are enrichment more, some of them are support,
Mhm.
helping. There's other opportunities, and yes, there are times where kids might just take a study hall.
Mhm.
And they might go down and they might shoot hoops.
so it's kind of up to, and I'm just picking on 7th grade, but none of the 7th graders are probably gonna like me now, but, and I've kind of always said, I was always kind of bothered that, you know, kids don't have homework. And probably cutting my own throat here, but, I understand the grand scheme of things on this block scheduling. That, you know, they want the kids to get their homework done at school because there's a lot of kids that don't have the ability or support at home to get the homework done. They want them to get it done at school. But I guess what concerns me is, as a parent, we're kind of leaving it up to the student to, if he wants to do that extra math or wants to do that extra reading. And, you know, let's say something went on at school, fire drill, what have you. You know, who's watching those kids? I mean, they could be at the pack, they could be at the library. What is the administration doing? What are the teachers doing then? I mean, are they managing?
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have you pose your questions
Yep.
to David and the team that manages and runs Bulldog Time and
Yep.
advisory. It's not just chaos. It is not kids just doing nothing. There is a purpose.
Mhm.
Yes, there is some autonomy and some choice that kids have. But the intention behind,
By no means am I saying there's chaos, but I just feel it.
but there is choice, and when you give 6th, 7th, and 8th grade kids choice, it can feel like chaos at times, right? Because you're asking for them to make decisions.
Yep.
But this is a discussion that we need to have our administrators that are part of that decision-making at the table, so they can talk through the feedback that they've received from staff, the feedback. So we did do a survey last year too about this, specifically about the block schedule. And David has that information, and I'll have him share it so you get the exact numbers, but it was offered out 2 different times, and there were 600 clicks on the newsletter that it was in, and 34 families completed the survey. And of that 34 families, about 30% of them had concerns about the schedules, 30% said they really enjoyed the schedule, and 30% were indifferent.
Yeah, I
So,
saw that.
Okay,
survey, yeah.
so I think what our administration has really tried to do is be responsive to comments, questions, concerns that we've had,
Yep.
that they've heard. But I also don't think it's, we need their voice at the table. And so that's where I think that,
I respect that, yeah,
I really think that we should table this discussion
I understand.
until we have David, and he can have some of his, the people who have been
No,
part of that discussion.
Yeah, and I apologize.
No, you don't,
I
but let's get it on the agenda for a work session so that we
I
can
guess
dig into
one
the
question I just want to
conversation.
add, and this is for band now.
For what?
For band,
Okay,
a parent, you either buy the instrument or you rent it. For what it costs to rent it, you just won't buy it. But anyways, what I'm getting at is if you have 2 quarters of band, you might have, I guess my child had 5 music lessons in the summertime for like 20 minutes to a half hour. But you're paying rent on that equipment for 365 days.
Yep.
That's just one of another pitfalls you don't see them flourishing. And I'm not trying to knock band or anything, but I've been to some supporting events and it's kind of disappointing.
so here too, again, this is a good
I know.
discussion
Yeah,
for us
I better
to
stop.
have the right people at the
Yep,
table.
I understand.
And this is why,
But I just don't want to kick the can down the road because I had brought up this issue a couple months ago, so.
and I guess I'm also gonna point out that our schedule is responsive to the 6th and 7th grade. And that's part of what brought the concern or the question to 8th grade, because we did make a change for 6th and 7th grade. So they have core reading and math every other day. And I'll have David again share out the information of where that came from and what some of those limitations were to why we couldn't do it as 8th grade right now.
And there's not a
There's a number of factors that have come into this. And I'm excited to have them, they'll share out the data. Maria Rasmussen will be here as well, who's one of our reading teachers.
And unfortunately, all kids aren't built alike. And there's not a program out there that's going to satisfy every kid's need. I understand that,
So
I'm done.
So that'll be on the agenda for the work session.
for the work session, yep.
By the way, it's $50 to rent an instrument, Ron. You can't buy an instrument for that.
What's that?
It's $50 to rent an instrument. I don't know what a trombone costs nowadays, but
Oh, you want to put that on record? It costs $50 to rent an instrument?
that's what it says right here in our fee schedule.
Is it Pathrath or Akron in St. Cloud? It's more than that.
Oh.
But I'm not going to get
But you
into
can rent it
it.
from here.
I apologize for asking. I'm not going to ask any questions.
I didn't realize you rented from outside.
But I know it's more than $50.
Well, here it is.
I'll bring in the bill.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
I had motion.
Okay.
Second.
Gerald, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.